From Motionsoft's corporate offices in Rockville, Maryland, welcome, and thank you for joining us today for the third installment of Motionsoft's 8-week Technology Summit webinar education series. My name is Todd Tweedy. I'll be your moderator for the series. The webinar education series is designed to support your professional development by giving you access to industry leaders and companies that are driving innovation in the fitness arena. The focus of the series is on digital excellence. The series will cover a range of topics from application networks and physical activity tracking to digital partnerships, as well as data visualization and analytics. There are 3 additional webinars that you can sign up for. There'll be emails that we sent out following this communication. I'd like to take a moment just to kind of keep you up to speed on some of the things we're doing over at Motionsoft. And one is our full service back office support solution. It's an automated support solution that gives you the ability to automate phone, email, and letter communications to members to support your billing activities. If you're interested in learning more about our boss office solution or full service, please contact your support representative at support@motionsoft.net or by calling 1-800-829-4321. I'd like to take a moment now to ensure that everyone is familiar with the webinar control panel. First, you should have a control panel on the right side of your screen, similar to the image that you're seeing here on this slide. If you don't see the control panel on your screen, look in your taskbar for the orange clover icon and click it to open the control panel. You have the ability to submit questions during the webinar by using the chat panel located near the bottom of the control interface. The chat is highlighted with a red circle on this presentation slide. Please take a moment now to familiarize yourself with this feature and practice sending a question via the chat window. If you could, type hello and just click the send button. Thank you, Shauna and Pam and Patty, and I appreciate you guys interacting with us already. Finally, I want to let you know that this session is being recorded, and at the conclusion of this presentation, you'll be sent a link with the audio file as well as the presentation deck itself. Now it's my privilege to introduce our presenter for today's topic, the VIPs of retention, visits, interactions, and programming, with Dr. Paul Bedford. Dr. Bedford has over 20 years of experience working in the fitness industry. Paul started as a group fitness instructor and worked as a personal trainer, fitness manager, and a senior lecturer with YMCA Fitness Industry Training, where he trained 3,500 gym instructors and personal trainers. He's also managed a variety of clubs. But let me tell you, watching Paul reenact his first step class is something to truly behold. Trust me. Dr. Bedford has a master's degree in exercise and health behaviors and a PhD from the London Sports Institute. The aim of his PhD research was to identify interventions in a gym environment to increase adherence. The study increased average participation from 6 months to 13. Dr. Bedford used his study framework to develop a customized training program to support member retention that has been delivered to over 25 club operators at more than 100 facilities. He's also been involved in the development and application of a bespoke behavioral change model as part of the YMCA Activate England, a national physical activity project. Most recently, Dr. Bedford was the lead research on an URSA research report culminating in an in-depth 36-month study of the North American fitness industry that reflected membership experiences of approximately 1.5 club members. The title of the research, URSA 1 Million Strong, an in-depth study of health club member retention in North America, is without a doubt probably the most comprehensive and detailed study revealing gym membership retention that's ever been conducted. Paul is a highly sought-after international speaker on retention, and Paul is a very familiar face at URSA, the Motionsoft Technology Summit, LIW, and FIA Flame conferences, as well as presenting for individual clients such as Life Fitness at their Global Customer Summit, as well as the European Health and Fitness Association's European Leadership Forum, among many others. Dr. Bedford lectures at Middlesex University on physical activity and exercise physiology, as part of their master's degree program, and at Bath University, where he tutors medical doctors on health behavioral change and intervention. It is my pleasure today to welcome our presenter, Dr. Paul Bedford. Paul?
Good evening. Thank you, Todd. Thank you for those people who have already signed in. And if you will put a question, if you've got a question for me, just stick it in the question box, and hopefully during this next period of time, we'll get a chance to answer that question for you. I want this to be as relative to you as possible. So if you've got questions, you're not sure about anything I've said, pop a question in, Todd will get it across to me, and we will endeavour to answer that question for you. Okay, so the presentation this evening, I'm saying this evening, it's afternoon, I'm guessing where a large number of you are, I'm based here in the UK, is about interaction, visits, interaction and programming. I call it V.I.P because I think it's the most important thing that we've identified when running research around member behaviour and member retention. So I want to focus on that. I've kept it fairly narrow tonight. I've not put too many slides in there with lots and lots of graphs and charts. I've got a few tables, but they're mainly for illustrative purposes. I really want you to come away with something you can use or work out how you can use this within your clubs. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is visits, and visits are for me the most important thing in determining whether members stay with you within your club. The value of visits is actually measurable. We can actually work out what the value of a visit is, and from visit behaviour we can actually predict the members' behaviour both short and long term. So the number one thing for me with any of the clients that I work with is how do we encourage or how do we get members to make visits weekly, monthly, and then annually within the club. And I think some of you are going to be a little bit surprised by the data that we've collected and what we've analysed in terms of the frequency of visit required to achieve retention and adherence. Now, we talk about the 4-visit month formula. And what we've shown is that if you make 4 visits per month, so roughly 1 per week, you can reduce the risk of cancellation by about 29%. Now, 1 visit per week or 4 per month is not sufficient for people to achieve their exercise goals purely from using the gym or coming to a club. But what we found is that this visit frequency threshold of 1 per week is sufficient to keep people exercising for extended periods of time. So when you're introducing the concept of exercise, particularly to new exercisers, 1 per week is what your target should be. Now, you may not recommend that in terms of your sales presentation, and in fact, I certainly probably wouldn't sit there and say, oh, you only have to come once a week to new members. But that's the threshold that will keep them exercising. Now, we also know that members who achieve at least 4 visits per week, 4 visits per month, remain an average of an extra 13 weeks longer than those who visit less frequently. So we know in the early months of membership it's really important to get this frequency of visits going. And the most recent research I've done, which was for an operator with about 800,000 member records, really just reinforced this with, actually it's the routine of coming at the same time of day, the same day of the week, that was a really strong predictor of member behaviour and the use of clubs. Whereas people who came more on an ad hoc basis were much less likely to retain their membership. Now this can be useful in terms of programming, and I'm certainly beginning to think that the influence of group exercise is as much to do with people attending the same time session on the same day of the week as it is to do with the content or the quality of the teaching. And we can certainly see, if you look at the patterns in the data, the people who come on Monday night at 6 o'clock, it's almost irrelevant which class they go to. It's the Monday night at 6 o'clock regularity of training, that routine of training that seems to keep them going. Now, something that also has come out from the research we've done is that for new members or new exercises, new or inexperienced exercises, once per week is the minimum. But actually, we're not going to really try and encourage them to come more than 3 times per week in the first few weeks of membership. In fact, what we're normally recommending now is talking to members in terms of try and come to the club 4 to 12 times a month, offering them a range and presenting it in a monthly construct rather than a weekly construct. And the main reason for that is that members that come once a week, if you're saying to them come 3 times a week and they only come twice, what they tend to focus is they focus negatively on the 1 session they missed rather than positively on the 2 sessions they completed. The other factor or the other barrier to exercise is that if you say to people you need to come 3 times a week and they can't see an opportunity to come 3 times, they won't join. So the term that I would use is build up to 3 times a week. Your target is 3 times a week or 12 times a month. Initially, you want to be at least doing 4 times per month, 1 per week session. And if we're looking at the research around behaviour change, if we can't get them to do something once per week, we are really challenging the idea of them actually doing anything different. And what you can see here is the cumulative effect of additional visits. So if we work from the bottom up, members who visit in the first month of membership, if they visit somewhere between 0 and 1 visits, that's 0 and 1 visits in 1 month of membership, usually stay for about 4 to 4.5 months. Members who visit once or twice in the first month stay 9.5 months. Those members who are coming in 2 to 3 times in the first month give us about 12 months of membership. And those members who give us more than 3 visits, so at least 1 per week, are giving us 12 months of membership. So when you're looking at your onboarding processes, your gym induction processes, the orientations to your club, one of the things that becomes really key is about getting people to visit in the early months of membership. Now, you may think that just because somebody's joined a gym or a club that they are going to visit. But again, looking at the data, about 10% of people who join don't come back for their orientation or into the club a second time. For those people who visit at least once, there's another 10% who only ever come once. So for 1,000 people, what we see is 100 join and never come back in after joining, and 100 have an induction and never come back in after that first visit. So there's 200 members who come once or less after joining. Now, I know some operators will be saying, well, actually, that's the ideal member. They join but never use the club. But actually, you can very quickly churn your entire community with a strategy like that. Having lots of people who've joined but never really got going, the chances of them rejoining, quite slim. So really important that you think about your onboarding processes, how you're going to introduce these members perhaps to the gym environment, the studio environment, or any other areas of your business. I mentioned it just a little while ago, but visits per month is a really nice way of describing this if you're trying to get members to make behaviour changes, rather than visits per week. So again, I reiterate this, 4 to 12 visits per month, not 3 times a week. That gives people a range. So if they do 4 visits, they can tick the box, they've done it. If they've done 8, they've done better. If they've done 12, that's fantastic. Don't really need them to do more than 12 to either achieve their fitness results or to actually retain them as members. Now, that's not necessarily true for the savvy exerciser, the really experienced exerciser, the person who knows what they're doing. They'll have a visit frequency that they know they can sustain and maintain over time. So these ranges are really important for members who are new or inexperienced. I took this sample because I just thought this would be useful for you to get a sense of how people are using clubs, and this would be something that you might want to do within your own club, work out these percentages or these numbers. So this was a sample of 1,000 members from a very big health club chain. We took the data from one club and we just used 1,000 members. I like to use 1,000 members because it's really simple for people to understand both the numbers and the percentages. Now, the period of time that I had the data for was 21 weeks. And so what you can see here is that over 21 weeks, 89% of the members came to the club at least once during that 21-week period. If we go start at the top and work down, we can see that 5% use the club 3 times a week or more, 5% use the club 3 times a week, 14% use the club 2 times a week, 32% use the club once per week. So in a 21-week period, a third of the members were averaging 1 visit per week. Another third used the club less than once per week. And 11% didn't use the club at all in that period, but did keep on paying. Now, the reason I put the orange dashed line across just above once per week, really all we're looking to do is look at those, 740 members, the 80% of members that come less than once per week or less, and move them up to once per week. I'm less worried about moving the twice a week users or 3 times a week users up to more than 3 times a week. In fact, many of them won't get many benefits from that at all. However, we would substantially increase the length of time a member stay with us if we move them from not using to using at least once per week, and from once per week to twice per week. So it might be worth you after this webinar going into your data, pulling out either a sample of 1,000 or data from one of your sites or a site, and working out what is your current visit frequency. I think some of you are going to be really surprised. Again, the data on 800,000 members showed the average visit frequency would to be 1, with 95% interval being 0.75 to 1.25 of a visit. You can't do 0.25 of a visit, so that usually just means that they're doing 5 in a calendar month. Now, one of the things I think you can do when you're onboarding members is to rethink the way in which we plan their exercise routine. And something that I recommend to my clients, and when I'm doing seminars and workshops, is this: have your new member bring their diary, whether it's digital or paper or a book, whatever it is, bring their diary. The first thing you want to do is identify when in their diary they're currently busy. So those circles initially don't represent training, they represent days of the week or times of day when someone is unable to put training into their life. And the reason I do this is that what I found was when we were interviewing members for different surveys, when we've been running different behaviour change projects, if everybody's got a life, everybody's already got things in their diary, and as an exerciser, as a person who used to train PTs and group exercise teachers, we used to almost assume that when they want to join the gym or do classes, they will put the exercise in their diaries first and then their life in there second. It's only the real hardcore exercisers, those who are committed to exercise on a regular basis, that do that. They start their diary with their training and then put life in around it. However, the vast majority of our members have a full diary. So what we need to do is identify, first of all, when they can't train, so that we can see clear options for when they can. And I think that the other thing we need to be considerate of is that while we might like the idea of them coming 3 times a week, the reality is they're only likely to come once. So much of the time, all I'm encouraging members to do is put in at least 2 sessions per week, and in some weeks they don't put any sessions in. I spent a long time with personal training accountants, and what I found was that in the early weeks of the month they were easily able to come and do 3 sessions a week. Middle of the month they'd usually drop that to 2 per week, and towards the end of the month they dropped down to 1 a week or even none, because they were so busy doing end of month accounting activities, and that was their busy period. So we actually just changed the structure, and rather than saying you must come 3 times a week every week, with them it was 3 times a week in the first 2 weeks, then it was twice a week for the next 2 weeks, and then none in the final week. So every 4 weeks they got a break. However, what I noticed was that many of them would try and book in at least 1 session, because it was 1 more than nothing, and that made them feel spectacularly good in terms of their commitment to exercise. I've said to them they can take the week off, I understand they're busy. They've said, yep, we are busy, but we're going to put a session back in anyway. So I think planning around people's lifestyles is a much more effective way at changing behaviours. In fact, we found it to be effective at changing behaviours, rather than assuming that they can visit when we're suggesting they visit. So have a think about that. Have a think about that for your onboarding program. This is one of my clients. I wanted to show you this. This is it's called a retention curve or a survival curve. What you have across the bottom is the months since joining. So it's 0 month right the way through to what's that? 26 months, 24, 26 months. Up the vertical axis is the percentage still members. So what you can see is if we base this on 1,000 members, 100% join, but they have to join if they're going to be a member, and then we can see the percentage of those 1,000 that join that get through to the end of the first month, get through to the end of their second month, through to the end of their third month. So the months below are not calendar months, they're just months since joining. Now the decay graph, or the decay line, the survival curve, runs from top left to bottom right. So the decrease in the line is really just about when members are not retaining their membership or not visiting. And you can see a couple of cliffs in there. If we look at the orange, red, blue line, at 12 months there's a little drop there. That's usually indicating the end of a 12-month contract. So everybody above that stopped exercising before the end of their 12-month contract. You can even see it in the green line a little bit. What you can also see right at the beginning is these members who have joined haven't really visited and quit really early on. And what this graph is showing overall is the length of retention when people are making 1, 2, or 3 visits per month compared to when they're making 4 visits per month. I think quite graphically it illustrates the importance of this visit frequency. Now, just to get this into perspective, everything below the line is money. Everything above the lines is lost opportunity for money or income. So you're not able to sell personal training, secondary products, other items to people who aren't coming or visiting. So visits should be the thing that clubs are focusing on the most in terms of improving their retention. And being able to identify your visit frequency within your club is something you need to access your software to do. Something you might want to add to your customer surveys is a question about how frequently do they visit. And so you ask them how frequently they visit, and you give them an option, less than once a week, 2 to 3 times per week, 4 or more. You can do that monthly. In fact, I'd probably suggest you do it monthly. I do it monthly in my own surveys. But then further down, separate from this question, ask a few more questions, then have a question, when was the last time you were in the club, to see if they have been in within the last week, because you're looking to see if there's a relationship between how often they say they're coming and actually how often they are coming. If you can link that to their membership as well, you can then go back and track that and add that data, so you've got what they say they're doing on what they're actually doing, and you can look for any gaps or differences in that. Once the members come in, the next key area is going to be around interaction. Interaction, really, really, really important for the member experience, and is the second, for me, the second most important thing if you want to try and improve retention within your businesses. Now, not all interactions are equal. We know that if staff always spoke to all the members, we can estimate that 44% of all cancellations would be avoided. So we could reduce cancellations by 44%. Now, what we also know is that members value different types of interaction differently, and they value them, the types of staff differently. So an example would be, the people who run front of house, if they interact with a member, the member values that, but not as highly as if the person who's taking their group exercise session speaks to them, a fitness instructor on the gym floor speaks to them, a personal trainer speaks to them. They value those more highly. So it's not that there is no value in interaction at reception. There is or front of house. But as a woman quoted, or I'm going to quote a woman from one of my research projects. I interviewed 1,000 members who've been members of more than 2 clubs about why they joined, why they stayed, and why they left, and how they joined the next clubs. And one of them said, I expect to be spoken to at reception. It's called reception. They're supposed to receive you. They're supposed to say hello. Where the real power comes is when the fitness staff, be it group exercise, PT, or fitness staff on the gym floor, speak to a member. That has even more power and greater value. Now, I try and use this slide in every presentation I do. I think it's the most powerful slide or piece of information that I can convey to you. And it basically reads like this. If I speak to you once in October, the chances of you being a member in November go up by 20%. If I speak to you 2 to 3 times in October, the chance of you being a member in November go up by 50%. And if I speak to you 4 or more times in October, that does require 4 visits. It's not 4 interactions in 1 visit. If I speak to you 4 or more times in October, the chances of you retaining your membership in November goes up by 80%. Now, we've got about 4 or 5 days left for this month. So if your staff went out onto the gym floor, or your group exercise teachers made an effort to speak to everybody on the way in or everybody on the way out of their class, even if they only come once between now and Saturday, which is the 31st, then you can increase the likelihood of them still being a member next month by 20%. We've even seen a massive impact where you may have not spoken to them for 10 months, but then you start speaking to them, you can massively reduce the risk of them cancelling. So interaction has an impact independent of the length of membership. It always has an effect on retention, whether someone's been a member a week, a month, a year, 10 years. So interactions become the next critical element to improving retention within your business. Now, in this slide, what you're seeing is, again, it's a retention curve. Vertical axis 100%, across the bottom, months since joining. And this was where we asked the question, have you ever been spoken to? Have you ever been spoken to? So the minimum here was 1 interaction. And what you can see is the members who responded that they don't ever remember being spoken to in the last 12 months, 18% of them retain their membership for 12 months. Members that get interacted with or spoken to, even if it's only once in 12 months, 64% are making it through to the 12-month period. That is just ridiculous in terms of the impact it's having on your members. And in fact, if you start at the top of the survival curve for those who had interactions, the red line, you'll notice how few people leave in the first 4 months when they're spoken to. So interaction plays an important role. Now, what do I mean when I say interaction? Well, some it will just be a glance, a head nod, a smile from distance, and that's all they'll need. Others, it will be basic. How are you? What are you working on? What do you need to focus on today? How can I help you? More just customer service orientated interactions. A layer up from that is the goal-focused interaction around what are you working on today, what are you working towards. What we found is that most people working out don't have a goal for that workout. They have an overall goal of something they're trying to achieve, but they don't have a goal for each particular workout. So one of the things we're getting people to focus on, particularly staff are talking to members saying, what's the purpose of this workout today? What are you trying to achieve from this workout? What goal can we set in order for you to try and get that and get you closer to your overall goal? 64% made it through to 12 months. That's equal to the North American average. It was 66% of members stayed for 12 months when we did the URSA study of over 1 million members. If you start talking to members, they'll stay longer. Easy as that, low cost, simple to do, but don't make it a sales conversation. One of the biggest mistakes is having personal trainers going up to people they don't know, criticising the member's technique and then asking them if they want to purchase personal training. You'll see survival curves that look worse than the blue one when that technique is applied. So first, find out about the member, find out what they're trying to achieve, give them some ideas about what they can do today, and then focus on their outcome goal. The next level up, which is probably more complex to talk about in just this one session, is creating behaviour change conversations that change people's behaviour over a long period of time. There are 3 real ways of thinking about behaviour change. There's the behaviour, the one-off behaviour, which people might try, say like they're on vacation, they try a bungee jump, but they wouldn't bungee jump every week, so it's a one-off. There's the over time or event-based behaviour, where people are saying, I want to get in shape for a wedding, or my vacation, or a college reunion. And then there's the long-term behaviour, which is where we're trying to get people to. Those can all be achieved through conversations, but you can't go straight in and start those conversations with people you've never spoken to. In fact, I had a rule in my clubs, which was, if you visited one of the clubs that I was the manager of or was running, I guaranteed you'd get 3 interactions. You'd definitely get an interaction from the front of house on your way in. You'd get an interaction where you did your activity, and you'd get an interaction on your way out by front of house saying goodbye. It was our 3 interaction rule within our club. It worked very, very well. It was simple. The challenge was for those people not working front of house. Nobody actually knew, if you're a member of staff, whether that member had been spoken to. So rather than no one speak to them, everyone made an effort. Even if it was just say, hello, good morning, how are you? Where are you going today? What are you training? On the way up, hi, how was your workout? How do you feel now? What are you doing next? When are you in next? Just that sense of we're interested in you, which then led to deeper and further conversations. Now, the part that really frustrates me at the moment is the exercise programming. Exercise programming is key to helping people achieve their goals, and programming consists of various components. Now, as someone who educated people to be personal trainers and group exercise teachers, I'm really, really familiar with the principles of training and all the different components of fitness. So, the components of fitness are classified worldwide as muscular strength, muscular endurance, flexibility, cardiovascular fitness, and motor skills. Those are your 5 components of fitness. Now, some people only want to train for one, some will want to train for all of them. I think it's a mistake if we try and impose components on people that they're not interested in. In fact, if we start exercise programming from where we want it to be, rather than where the member wants it to be, we're on a hiding to nothing. They're going to quit really, really quickly or stop doing the program. The other thing to consider is, and I don't think our industry does this very well, is the timeline for the changes in muscular strength, endurance, flexibility, cardiovascular, and motor skills. So if I think about muscular strength, if I take someone who's never exercised before, from 0 to 6 weeks, most of the adaptations that occur through neuromuscular improvement, coordination, muscle fiber recruitment. It's all to do with the nervous system. And so what we see is that people get fairly rapid gains in strength relative to where they started. And so if we were using a selectorized resistance machine, they'd start on plate 1, workout 1, workout 2, they can do plate 2, workout 3, plate 3, and so on. Very quickly, they're increasing the weight. That has nothing to do with the improvement of the muscle fibers, the hypertrophy of the muscles. It's all to do with the motor skills. Beyond weeks 6 to 8, that's when the muscle fibers start to change their composition. We start to increase actin and myosin, and they grow in size and in number, so we get muscle hypertrophy. But when are we saying this to people? When are we telling people it takes about, you'll see this for the first 6 to 8 weeks, and then this will happen? Muscular endurance, you can see improvements in muscular endurance on a regular basis for about 10 to 12 weeks. Flexibility, we can improve flexibility in their first workout. It might be a little bit transient, but we can certainly improve their muscle tension and reduce their muscle tension by teaching them a few static stretches. Cardiovascular fitness, about 6 weeks. Motor skills, I think, is a little bit challenging. There are some people who have no motor skills and never will, and there are others who pick up things really, really quickly. I find myself sort of somewhere in the middle. I have to practice a lot, but once I've got it, I've got it. I'm not someone who can pick up group exercise choreography very quickly. In fact, as Todd alluded to in the introduction, my step class still replicates Jim Miller's original Reebok step class from the 1980s, 1990s. But we can improve people's motor skills. This timeline for change should be something we're introducing to people, saying, if you want to build muscle, this is what you're going to notice in the first few weeks. If you want to improve muscular endurance and cardiovascular fitness, you'll start to notice the changes in your breathing rate, your heart rate in the first 6 to 8 weeks. Then we can start applying and layering the principles of training. Now in Europe, we tend to talk about FIT, frequency, intensity, time and type. I know in the US and most of North America, it tends to be frequency, intensity, duration and type. It's the same thing, we just swap time for duration. Frequency of training, 2 to 3 times a week. Intensity of training depends on whether you're training cardiovascularly or whether you're training for muscular strength, endurance or flexibility. Cardiovascular training, generally the principles are from 55% of your maximum heart rate, you're going to start to get health benefits. Take that up a bit higher, you'll start to get fitness benefits. Take it up to your anaerobic threshold, you get performance benefits. What are we teaching that? When are we introducing people to these concepts of how often they need to train, how often they need to rest? So much of what we're doing at the moment is focused around HIIT training, which we know is effective. However, it has all the characteristics that reduce exercise adherence and reduce retention, because there's lots of discomfort in the early stages. There's lots of, well, actually, it's not just the early stages, there's lots of discomfort. It's very high intensity. It's usually quite high frequency in the way that we're teaching it, and often leads to a lot of muscle soreness. All of the research that's out there suggests that as exercise intensity goes up, exercise adherence, people sticking to their frequency of exercise, goes down. And that's also true of complexity. So as complexity goes up, exercise adherence goes down. So we should be thinking about the way we're programming our group exercise classes, our gym activities, even our personal training sessions. Because one of the pieces of feedback from members that I see is that personal trainers don't actually listen to what the member wants to do or achieve. They just want to teach the things that they like teaching, whether that be functional exercises using a rig or TRX. They really seem to give no consideration to the actual person. They're more interested in the exercise program, but not really in the person they're doing it to. So we should be looking at making, for new exercises, taking things from being simple to complex. And that might be like the next line, supported to unsupported, so resistance machines to functional exercises over time. Because the key to improving member retention is building what's called their self-efficacy. Now, when I talk about member retention, I talk about the difference between when they join and when they quit their leave date. And we can measure that in how many times they pay or how long their membership is. Exercise adherence is about how many sessions they did compared to how many sessions they said they were going to do. So if they said they were going to come 3 times a week and they came 3 times a week, that's 100% adherence. If they said they were going to come 2 times a week and they came 2 times a week, that's 100% adherence. Adherence is the proportion of sessions completed compared to the proportion of sessions stated that they were going to complete. Now, if we want to improve adherence and change behaviours, we have to improve this concept called self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is our belief in our ability to be successful. We need to build success into the program. If we make things too complex, too early, too intense, too early, people start to have a lot of self-doubt. We want to build this idea of confidence and competence. Confidence in the use of the facility. I know where I'm going, how to get there, how to negotiate the entry points, how to use the lockers in the locker room, whether I need to bring my own padlock or there's an electronic code or an RFID or some other technology for that. Where's the gym? What's the etiquette in the gym? Where's the studio? What's the etiquette in the studio? Those are all the confidence things. The competence element is all about the ability to do the exercises that have been prescribed for them. Now, what we've found is, we're again interviewing members about how much of their exercise program do they follow. They follow the exercises that achieve 2 things. Exercises they can directly relate to their goals. So if their goal was big arms and they've got bicep curls, they keep doing those exercises. If their goal was big arms and it's got squats in there, and they can't see the relationship between doing squats and big arms, they drop squats. They also drop any of the exercises they can't remember how to do or don't feel competent to do in front of other people. There's a psychological construct called self-protection theory, and what that suggests is we avoid situations that make us look incompetent, unconfident, and ugly. Ugly doesn't mean physically ugly. Ugly just means we don't fit in performing in the same way that other people do. Now, I've used the example of karaoke a number of times. I am a confident public speaker. I'm happy on the stage. I will even do the basic step routines in front of hundreds to thousands of people. However, ask me to sing and self-protection theory kicks in. I'm off the stage, out of the building and away, faster than Elvis left the building. I'm not confident and competent as a singer. So the components need to be adjusted. Just because someone's confident in one area doesn't mean they'll be confident in another or competent. So gym users, people use traditional gym environments, may not feel confident or competent in the studio environment. I think one of the things we've seen over the last 10 years is many more women both feeling confident and competent to use free weights, all the way through from basic exercises right up to Olympic lifting exercises like the clean, which are much more common now with women doing them than they were in the past. And if we're going to have an impact on both the people we've already got as members and trying to attract and retain new members, we really need to think about how we're doing our exercise programming and programming it around their level of fitness rather than the things we want to teach, which is, again, I see that all the time. Okay, let me take a breath.
All right, Paul, thank you so much. I think every time we get on the phone or meet in person, an hour or a day is never enough. I could sit here and pick your brain for a while. And attendees, now it's your turn. It's your turn to pose questions to Paul. If you could please compose your question using the questions feature inside of the controller. I've got some questions already lined up for you, Paul. Let
Cool.
me start with George. Hi,
Yep.
Paul. Great presentation. Have you any experience of clubs that have incentivized with staff team members in terms of visits? It would be interesting to see a monthly visit report and therefore to create some type of bonus structure based on this number. Have you seen this and could it be a realistic component as part of a retention strategy?
Okay. George, thanks for the question. I've not done it previously on visits. I have done it on months of membership. So if I give you an example, um, the last club that I ran, we knew that our members, on average, stayed 9 months. Sorry, stayed 6 months. So what we said to our staff was, every new member that joins will be allocated to one member of staff. So if Todd was a new member, he might be allocated to me. My role was then to look after Todd to get him through his first 6 months. If I got him through the first 6 months, for every additional month that he stayed, I'd be given $1. So if Todd stayed month 7, I get $1. If Todd stays month 8, I get $1, and so on. Now, with my staff, they were looking after somewhere between 300 and 500 members each. So their potential was to earn $300 to $500 extra per month from just looking after the members, which included prompting visits, um, you know, checking their training programs, making sure they were in the right group exercise, just being social as well. And we found that a really positive way. Now we started it with teams and then we individualized it. And the reason we individualized it was that we found that when we did it in teams, there was always one or two people that slacked. They were slackers. They never really put the effort in and relied on everybody else. And it created a bit of resentment amongst those people who were really making an effort. So we just did it on, if we can get you from month 6 to month 7, I'll pay you an extra $1. If you do it 7 to 8, we pay you an extra $1. Every time that member stays an extra month, you get an extra $1. So we haven't done it on visits. You can do it on visits. You need some sort of software that allows you to look at visit frequency and then staff interaction, so you know which members of staff are having that impact. There you go.
Well, so, Paul, let me just kind of jump on top of George's question here. And is there
Yeah.
a relationship between staffing and retention? Is there an ROI model that a club could implement? I mean, how many
I wish.
how many
Uh,
staff members, per thousand active gym members should we have?
you know what? We're not able to calculate that because we've been asked that question a few times. I haven't looked to try and do it. I don't know at the moment. I do know that clubs that have staff available on the gym floor, even if it were just one, when members are in, the retention is improved compared to when there are unmanned hours. In fact, in a lot of the low-cost or the low-cost, high-volume clubs, the budget clubs we have in the UK, which are heavily manned with personal trainers, but they're all focusing on their own clients, they don't. The retention is poor because there's no interaction. So I think even if you just had one member of staff in the gym, let's call it, say it's in the gym, walking around offering support, then you'd see an impact on that. And I do think that we can learn a lot from the restaurants. You go into a restaurant and you order a meal, and 5 minutes after your meal arrives, someone walks over and says, "I'm just checking, is everything okay with your meal?" Why can't we adopt that approach in the gym? Certainly most of our personal trainers and fitness staff believe they're better educated than restaurant staff. Yet they stand back, hang back, and say, "Oh, members don't want to be spoken to." Actually, if you talk to the members, they want to be spoken to. They don't want to be interrupted, but they certainly want to be spoken to. So I'm sorry, I can't give you a definitive number. But I would say It's whatever you have plus one.
Gotcha.
If you have none, if you've got none, it's one.
Well, you're
Uh,
certainly stimulating some folks to think about running their own analytics in terms of retention. And Mike has a question
yeah,
for
yeah.
you. His question is, for
Well,
your usage, you use 21 weeks. Is there a time frame we should use if we were to self-analyze?
no. An example I gave it was 21 weeks. That was because that's as much data as we could get from that system. I wasn't using 21 weeks as a standard. I normally look at the data if I can for at least the last 2 years. Um, so I want to see beyond, if you're selling membership contracts, like a 12-month contract or a 12-month agreement, I need to see what happens into month 13, 14, 15. So, but I'd be looking, I'd break it down into 90 days, 180 days, 270, 360, and start looking at visit patterns since joining in those blocks. That really starts to give you an idea of what you need to focus on. Because if visit frequency is really low in the first 90 days, it's a real challenge to try and get it up again. Whereas if it starts off fairly decent, you can maintain that for quite a long time before it declines. But if they're not coming in the early stages, it's really hard. Um, it's almost like signing up for an educational course and missing the first 4 lectures, and you go for the 5th one, and then you think, actually, I don't really get what's going on, so you don't go to the 6th. You never really get going. And it's the same here. We need to really focus on our onboarding processes, and rather than, in a lot of cases, it just be a 1 hour session with a member of staff and then good luck, off you go, and hope you survive. We should be, particularly for the new and inexperienced exercisers, supporting for a bit longer in the early stages.
Attendees, again, this is your chance to engage with Dr. Bedford. If you could use the questions feature within the control panel to compose your question. Paul, I have a follow-up question from Rob in relation to incentives. And his question along that theme is, have you seen clubs that have incentivized staff based on results gained? Is that
Yeah.
the retention nirvana?
Well, results gained is the member achieving their results. So that I'm going to go with that until you get a message from Rob saying no, it's not that.
Gotcha.
Okay, no, I haven't. I did write an article for one of the trade journals here in Europe one time that said if we got paid on results, most of our industry wouldn't get paid at all. Because in the vast majority of cases, we don't actually support people in their behaviour change or in achieving their results. And that's not to say that we're not intelligent enough to do it, but we just don't set up our systems to do it. And, I think if we could find ways of reimbursing staff or incentivizing staff for helping members get their results, I think we'd see a real difference in the programming. The considerations would need to be, are the results that the member wants realistic, and over what time frame? Because if you've got, let's say 10 members, and 9 of them, the results are going to take a year, and 2 of them, it's only going to take 8 weeks. Staff are going to start choosing to work with those people that they're going to get the results in just 8 weeks, rather than choose to support the people it's going to take them a year to get the reward from. But I certainly think there are ways of doing it. It just depends on the number of staff and how you're going to measure goal achievement.
Let me ask a more general question related. It's linked to, hey, now we know what we need to be, achieving in terms of our monthly member visits and that, that level of visitation.
Yeah.
How do we achieve it? I mean, what type of recommendations do you make to your clients to help them move forward in that realm?
Well, obviously we break down the data first in terms of looking at what their visit frequency is. Then we start to implement both a digital and a physical interaction strategy. So the digital one will be around whatever information we've got. So ideally, if we've got information about what their goals, we've recorded that somewhere, and we can link that. We go back and we say, look, you've been a member for X number of months. How are you getting on in terms of achieving your results? We never ring people and ask them why they haven't been in. What we found was it's far too judgmental, so there's a much softer way of doing it. And the way we do that is we tend to implement a 7-day follow-up call and a 30-day after joining follow-up call. And the 7-day one is usually from a member of staff, whether their actual job title is member support or it's just part of their job title. Ring them up and say, you've joined, have you been in and had your induction, your orientation, did you get everything we promised you? It's actually any excuse for a call. Next time you're in the club, why don't you come and say hi? Why don't you get to know a few more people of the staff? The 30-day call is often done because they haven't been visiting, but we don't phone them up and go, we've noticed from our data you haven't been visiting. They find that really creepy, also really judgmental. So what we tend to do is phone them up and find out how they're getting on. Ask them a few questions about the club. What do they like about the club? What were they doing the last time they were in? And then we say to them, so when was the last time you were in? And we know when their last time was in, but we don't disclose that. And if they say, well, I've not been in for a couple of weeks, it's like, oh, really? How come? So we don't ask them why, we always ask them how come. There's a psychological reason. You don't ask why for negative behaviours. So we ask them how come they've not been in. We let them then speak. And we say, okay, so what can we do to then get you back into the club? So we start with that. It's both a digital version. We do emails, we embed videos into our emails and send video links talking about the challenges of exercise, things to be aware of, things to bring, just general information that helps the member get comfortable and confident with the club. Then if they're in the club, we start implementing these strategies. We do a lot of training around warm welcome, which is basically what hotels do when you come into the hotel reception. And then we teach staff how to start and maintain conversations that build confidence in the other person. So it's never about the member of staff, it's always about the customer. That varies depending upon size of company, whether it's a video training program, if they've got a lot of sites, and sometimes it's on-site training. Well, myself or one of my trainers will go in and work with them on how to start and maintain conversations that build confidence and competence in others. So it's a bit of a mix, and it's really dependent upon what the club resources are and what we can get access to.
Paul, we're getting to that point where we're running out of time, and of course we're getting a slew of questions. So attendees, if we don't hit your question during this session, Paul will have access to your email and can follow up directly and respond to your question. Quickly, Paul, I know you talked about digital and physical. There's probably 3 or 4 questions here related to sales. How do you incentivize sales to support retention?
How do you incentivize sales to improve retention? Okay. You don't give sales commission to the salesperson until they've attended an induction or an orientation, is one. Sales staff get really, really good. In fact, most of our sales staff in our industry are pretty good. They get really good at getting members to turn up for an orientation if their commission's on the line, or a proportion of their commission's on the line. We know that people who attend orientations or inductions stay longer than people who don't. So that's a real value. The other one is that we know that older members and family members or family memberships stay longer than any other type of members. So students and young people quit the fastest. Older members and families who join as a group stay ridiculous amounts of time compared to everybody else. So if I was trying to use a sales approach to incentivize, to improve my retention, I'd be talking to my salespeople about, actually, we'll give you a bigger sales commission for all the members over the age of 35. Sorry, but over 35 is the threshold for old in the fitness industry. members over the age of 35, you get a higher commission still for those over 45. And if they join as a family member, they get even a bigger commission. And some of the operators I work with, we've taken away all commissions for students, just because.
Have you heard of any clubs introducing some type of sales commission structure that's based on length of membership? And
no,
from Scott.
No. Well, thanks, Scott, but no. And it's the reason why people join isn't the reason they stay. So the whole sales process is associated with the retention process, but they actually then they're not automatic. They don't automatically flow from one to another in terms of member behaviour. Often the goals that people report that they want when they first join disappear very quickly and are replaced by things like, I just want to go to the gym, I've got friends there, there are other things that are going on within the club. So what we found recently was that once they get beyond about 3 months, fitness is one of the least reasons they stay. It's more about knowing people, some sense of achievement in moving in the direction of their goals, but also about fitting in and having a place where they feel comfortable. So I'm not even sure I've answered his question.
I think you hit the root of it. And at this point, I want to give you a chance maybe just to wrap up, and we're going to have to close this session out here momentarily. Any final thoughts?
I just think that, if we want to change member behaviour, some of the first place to start is changing our own behaviour. Traditionally, the industry has been set up and is very well structured to cope and serve the savvy, fit exerciser, as opposed to the new exerciser or the person who's never been a member of a gym. So originally, our processes have all been set up around what serves us. And I think as we get a better understanding of member behaviour in clubs and our industry matures, what we're seeing is actually if we plan for them first, we actually get to do all the things we like doing as well, but we seem to keep them for much, much longer. So we've got to change some of our behaviours as well as trying to expect members to change theirs.
Awesome. And Paul, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I always enjoy listening and learning from you. Attendees, thank you for signing up for today's session. Our next session will be on Thursday at 2 p.m. With H2 Wellness, talking about digital health networks. If we weren't able to answer your question during this session, again, the questions will be provided to Dr. Bedford, and he'll be following up directly. This will conclude our webinar for today. Thank you so much.